One of the most significant UFO encounters in my life would have to have been the Phoenix Lights phenomenon. And I wasn't there when it happened, but it was all over the news as it made international coverage on March 13th of 1997. What I remember the most about it was that the eyewitness testimony of it was massive, and the people talking about it was authentic, and like they really did see something. But then I also seem to remember like a shift in the news coverage, and then the video footage of these lights that seemed to have appeared, they ended up looking more like flares that were dropped on a mountain, and then eventually they kind of sputtered out. So although I wasn't there at the actual time, I did get to see the live action newscasting of that event. And as I recall, it seemed to be both of people who saw it in complete awe and total disbelief and talking about what they were looking at. And then also this shift into skepticism, along with these lights that were, obviously military flares that were sort of sputtering out. And it started to appear more like it was like a military exercise of some sort. But just what kind of military exercise are we talking about here anyway? So on this video, I'm going to touch upon a couple of theories that I have based on this event, because in comparison with most other UFO sightings, this particular Phoenix Lights sighting was extraordinarily different in many, many ways. So before we get into that, however, let's do me a favor and just please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that little notification bell by the subscribe button. I'll continue to make videos like this just for you. These are my real life stories of the impossible. So here are my observations and theories. Number one, unlike most UFO sightings, this object was massively huge. This object was completely silent, and it was relatively slow moving. So that would make it completely different from most UFO types of experiences. And it only moved in one direction as it passed over, as I recall. Now, immediately after it passed, the second thing that I noticed is that it seems flares were dropped down onto the mountainside by the military in order to, almost as if it was to mimic the appearance of the size of the craft. And so why would the military do this unless to create some kind of a distraction or almost like a disinformation about the incident itself? Most people, like myself, would remember those flares on the news and then just as equally dismiss that particular incident for just being a bunch of military flares that were dropped on a mountain. Now, if I was actually there to have seen the actual craft that passed over the top, and then to see how the military did that on the mountainside, in my eyes, it would make it appear more as if the military was kind of connected to the event, right? So that being said, this leads to my third thought observation, and that would be that the first police call referring to the sighting of the massive UFO actually came from Henderson, Nevada, which is just south of Las Vegas. And that means if you go backwards, so if, the UFO was mostly spotted between Phoenix going towards Tucson, and then it kind of disappeared sometime after Tucson. But if you go backwards from Tucson to Phoenix to Henderson, and then go up a little further up, where do you hit? You hit Area 51. Dun, dun, dun.